Ventilator is not a very easy job. Ventilator is a very critical device. Instead of assisting a patient, you
sorry,
can.
Sir, sorry for the interruption, sir. We cannot see you, sir.
You cannot see me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How come?
Sir, once you turn off the camera and turn on, sir.
I did that. Can you see me now?
No, sir. No, sir.
What is wrong?
Now it is fine, sir.
It's fine.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So I was dealing with life-saving equipments, and it's a huge pressure because you have to work for 24 by 7. So recently we have shifted to education side. We manufacture equipments for the medical and engineering colleges, and for medical colleges we are manufacturing simulators. And one of the equipment that we are developing is a ventilator simulator. So we have a patient, the doctor can create different lungs problem in that patient, and students will have to connect a ventilator to that particular simulator. Can you see me? Huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, but it is freezing in between.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir.
So we are in simulation business right now. I can give an example that we were selling Canadian simulators. One particular Canadian simulator that we have sold in Mumbai, the cost of that simulator is 3 crores. 3 crores. That simulator is manufactured by a company which manufactures aircraft simulators. So we did not have anybody manufacturing patient simulators here in India. So we decided to get into that slot, and now we are manufacturing those simulators. Hope we can do something different also in near future. So that is what my experience is. But the kind of work that we did initially, maybe about 30 years ago, was servicing of the equipment. We were hardcore service engineers. Basically, we were hardcore service engineers. My job said that I am a sales manager, but our selling is by serving the customer. So that is what we were taught. If you serve the customer, customer will give you more orders. So we were hardcore servicing, and we used to do component level servicing. I can give one example. That the machine is inside the operation theater, the patient is serious, patient needs the machine fails. I bring the machine outside in the doctor's room and I have to repair that machine. Somehow I realized that one particular component is, one register was bad. I didn't have that register, so I had a transistor radio receiver in those days with me because cricket match was going on. I opened that transistor radio receiver, I found a register there, I removed it from here and put it in that machine and made that machine work. Success is behind the people who are wanting to work. That is what I strongly believe. So we were service engineers, and because we were service engineers, we could understand the inside of the system. Like I will tell you, if anybody knows block diagram of any system, he has to know, he has to study every system with the block diagram. You look at a microwave, you should know what are the blocks inside. You look at the ECG monitor, you should know what are the blocks inside. You look at the fan, ceiling fan, you should know what are the blocks inside. So I believe that the teaching should be done that way, that the student should understand the block diagram. And teaching is not my profession, it is my passion. I have been teaching from 1981 onwards. So probably I am not going to teach you something new. I am going to teach you something which you already probably know, but I will do it in my style. So today we going to biosignal, and then what is the origin of the biosignal? Because if you are handling a particular signal, you should know from where it originates. What are the characters of that signal? If you know the signal, you can design an equipment to handle that signal. So you have to know the origin of the signal, what is the characteristic of the signal, and then how do you acquire the signal. And finally we're going to show you, we have a hands-on demo setup here. I will show you with another mobile, not from this particular laptop. So you will have to pin the video for the mobile. On that we will show you how to digitize the signal. like if you're, I suppose this is more for the MATLAB application. So for the MATLAB to, you have to grab the signal and take the signal digital file into your MATLAB software. Now, from where do you get this digital file of a particular signal? So we will show you how to create a digital file for a particular signal. So when we talk about the signal from the patients, the signals will be in a different kind. Signals could be mechanical signals, signals could be chemical signals, signals could be electrical signals, signals could be light signals, or signals could be some kind of a change in environment signals, or a posture, change in posture signals. So the signals that we pick up from the patients are different kinds. So today I'm going to give you an example of two signals. One is a mechanical signal, electrical signal, and we're going to concentrate whole signal onto the heart, the signals produced by the heart. So the heart is neither to produce electrical signal nor to produce mechanical signal. The job of the heart is to circulate the blood so that every part of our body gets oxygen and food. But in the process, it generates mechanical signal like sounds. In the process, it generates electrical signal like ECG. So first we will see the mechanical signals of the heart. I am just starting this presentation. Hmm? 1 minute, huh? No. Can you see this presentation?
No, sir, not yet.
Not yet?
Yes, sir.
But main signals would be about around 200 hertz. Then you can find the sound, whether it is normal or abnormal. Heart, and heart has four, right side and the left side. Right side is a impure blood and left side is a pure blood. So right side has an atrium and ventricle, left side has atrium and ventricle. So there is a valve between right atrium and ventricle, that is a tricuspid valve. It is like a cusp, three cusps together. So the blood can come only from atrium to ventricle, cannot go back. And from there it rushes to the lungs, that is pulmonary valve. From the lungs you get into the left atrium, and that is a bicuspid valve, also called as mitral valve, and it goes out through aorta through a aortic valve. So the major sound, the dub sound, is basically the aortic valve sound. So when the heart is beating, you are constantly operating these valves, and so S1, the first sound that comes is the mitral or a tricuspid valve. Here, this is the valve. And second sound that comes is aortic and a pulmonary valve. Tricuspid valve will make a very small sound. So comparatively, S1 and S2 are the two heart sounds that you can pick up. You can do it very easily. You can take this signal, digitize it, and take it into MATLAB. A lot of my students have worked in MATLAB on heart sounds. The S1 and S2 are made up of 5 to 7 different peaks, and each peak means something. So you can do the analysis of the amplitude and the frequency content of this sound, and projects on heart sounds with MATLAB. S1 and S2, again S1 and S2, again S1 and S2, lub and dub, lub and dub, lub and dub. Now dub gets split into two sounds, A2 and P2, because the left side valve closes first than the right side valve. So aortic valve closes first and the pulmonary valve closes little later. Generally asks you to take a deep breath when he is putting a stethoscope onto your chest. The second sound, that is S2, gets split into two. A doctor will confirm that it is happening, and it's a very normal sounds that doctor is expecting from your heart. So you can pick up the sounds and take the signals into MATLAB, and then you can do a lot of projects there. The S1 is when the heart, let us say, relaxes. The time between S1 and S2 is the systole, that is when the heart is contracting, and between S2 and S1 is when the heart is relaxing. The heart contracts and it is relaxed at the S2. So systole is the high pressure time zone and diastole is the low pressure time zone. So the blood pressure will go up Hg, and during diastole the pressure will fall down to 80 millimeters of Hg. These are indicative pressures. Every patient can have a different pressures, but normal pressure is considered as 120 millimeter of Hg and 80 millimeter of Hg. Pressure and a diastolic pressure. Sounds S3 and S4. S3 is after S2 and S4 is just behind S1. But these are not, if you want to listen to these sounds, you have to keep the subject in a absolutely quiet environment, and you have to have an ear, particular way of listening to listen to these two sounds, S3 and S4. But generally people will do a lot of work on S1 and S2, that is lub and dub sounds of the heart. Now to pick up these sounds, this is the way you can pick up these sounds. Aortic valve, right side of the chest, though it belongs to the left side of the heart is turned inside the chest, so appearing on the right side of the chest. And mitral valve, that is the again left side valve, appears here. A pulmonary valve, and this is for a tricuspid valve. So these two valves belong to the heart, and these two valves belong to the left side of the heart. The doctor will generally put the stethoscope in 4 different positions to hear the sounds of the valve. So if the patient has a problem that the valve is not opening or closing normally, then there will be a different vibrations when it is opening up or when it is closing. And the doctor will know more about the valve conditions. If any subject has a faulty valve, doctor will know immediately, almost immediately, from the stethoscope sounds. He can reconfirm it with the ultrasound later on, but 99% he can make out the problems with the heart valves if you place this stethoscope in a particular position. So this is same thing. This belongs to the left side of the heart. This valve and mitral valve and the tricuspid valve and the pulmonary valve is very close to the sternum. Sternum is the center part of the chest. So these are the mechanical signals that is given out by the heart, which you can pick up as a from a sound sensors, and is a microphone. And I will just show you, if I let me just see that sensor picked up. Yeah, these are the this is an electret microphone. Electret is like a magnet. Magnet has a permanent magnetism, and electret microphone has a permanent charge. Phone is used, and this is the inside circuit of the electret microphone, and this is the output, and this is the waveforms that you will get from the stethoscope. And if you compare that with ECG, the S1 is right above QRS complex. S2 is on the downslope of T wave. This is when the heart contracts. This is when the heart is totally relaxed. So this is the sensor that you can use for picking up heart sounds. Okay, now we will see the electrical signal that is coming from the heart. Now, bioelectric signals, they call that they are electric signals because they are electrical in nature. Excuse me, can you see me? Huh? Okay, yeah. They are electrical in nature, and they will happen. They will take place in biological organisms, in the organism with life. So any organism with life actually generates electrical signals. Electrical signals are nothing but concentration of positive ions in one side, anions, and concentration of negative ions on the other part. So the difference between these two ions will generate a potential difference called as potential difference, which can be measured it in volts. So for example, we have these standard batteries which we use for our torches. These are zinc carbon batteries which generates a voltage of 1.5 volt. Then we have lead acid batteries which generates a voltage of 2 volt, which are used in automobile. And then we have a lithium ion battery which is used in our mobile, which generates a voltage of 1.2 volt. Similarly, if you take a cell from our body, and if you take a multimeter, put one electrode inside the cell, positive electrode inside the cell and negative electrode outside the cell, you will measure 70 millivolt across the cell membrane. It is because the cell membrane has a specific permeability. It will permit certain material to go inside, and it will restrict certain material from entering inside. So sodium and potassium ions play a major role in maintaining the potential across the membrane called as membrane potential. So this cell, as long as it is alive, will generate a voltage of 70 millivolt negative inside with respect to outside of the cell. This is what we can measure, and this is nothing but an electrical signal from the body. Now how we'll see, we will come to ECG ultimately, but we'll see how this electrical signal keep on changing. When the cell is in action, the inside becomes positive and again goes back to negative. So this is a polarized state. In the normal state, it becomes positive, and once the action is over, it becomes negative again. So as an electronic engineers, we have to look at this signal as something that is 90 or 70 millivolt, 30 millivolt positive, and goes back to minus 90, 70 or 90 millivolt again. Pulse. This looks like a triangular pulse, but let us say this has got two states. One is low, one is high. One is minus 90, one is plus 30. One is 1. So every cell in our body in action, when it is in action, will either generate minus 90 millivolt or plus 30 millivolt. That is either 0 or 1. So every cell will indicate to us whether it is in action or it is in a relaxed condition by sending these signals. And when we pick up these signals from the body over the skin, we know for sure that these are the combination of all the action that is taking place under that skin. So you get a combined effect of these all the action potentials of the cells which are lying under the skin where you have put the electrode. Now there are different cells behave differently in the body. There are neurons, which are the nerve system cells. You see and this is like a monostable for us. When the monostable receives a trigger, it gives output. That output goes from low to high, and from high to low again with a specific on time. That on time is decided by, please note here, this R and this C. This is a simple 555 timer which I am using as the simulation for a nerve cell. So nerve cell on time is less than 2 milliseconds. So whenever a nerve cell gets a trigger from one side, it changes its state, and it propagates the wave to the next cell. So main job of the neuron or nerve cell is for propagation of the signal to and from the brain. Come from the brain to different parts of the body. Signal will go back from the different parts of the body to the brain. It takes the signal from the sensors, our ears, our touch sensor, our taste sensor, our smell sensor. Nerves are called as sensory nerves. They take a signal from the sensors to the brain. Give a signal back to the body, basically to all the muscles, as motor nerves. So we have neurons of two types. One is sensory nerve and one is motor nerve. Their job is to convey is 90 millivolt or 70 millivolt negative or 30 millivolt positive, either low or high. At this point of time, our nervous system only propagates digital signal. There is nothing in between. So our whole body is digitally controlled body. The brain generates a digital signal, sends those digital signals through the nervous system to different parts of the body, and body will behave accordingly. So through the motor nerve, signal comes to a muscle. This is a skeletal muscle, not a smooth muscle. Smooth muscles are belonging to our intestine. Skeletal muscles are the main muscles what you see on body. Once the signal comes to a skeletal muscle, the action will turn into a contraction. Not contract, it will only propagate the digital signal. The muscles, when it receives a signal from a motor nerve, the muscle will actually contract. If you want to lift your hand, you have to contract certain muscles and relax certain muscles. So that command comes from the brain. And you see, this is also a monostable kind of a behavior. Once it receives a trigger, it contracts. And if you see the action potential, it goes from negative to positive and comes back to negative. So this is another type of cell, that is a skeletal muscle cell, which generates this kind of an action potential. So if you put the electrodes on any muscles over the skin, each muscle fiber is firing, each muscle fiber is contracting and generating the action potential, combined effect of all the muscle fiber which are lying under that skin. Type of cell in our body which generates electrical signal are cells, cardiac muscle cells. One time of this muscle cell is more than 200 milliseconds. Particular cells of the heart muscles are not monostable multivibrators like this. This is an astable multivibrator. It can oscillate on its own. It goes into the polarized state, it goes into repolarization, again depolarization, again it will go on to repolarization without the external trigger. With the external trigger, it is still controllable. So it is triggerable, controllable, astable multivibrator. Every cardiac cell can be looked at as astable multivibrator. So we have multivibrators, astable multivibrator and monostable multivibrators. The on time of the monostable is controlled by this R. The on time of this astable multivibrator is controlled with this R, and off time is controlled with this R. Multivibrator where you can control the on time and off time. And in cardiac muscle cells, time will remain same. The off time will be controlled. So when you say the heart is beating faster or is beating slower, it is because this off time of this astable multivibrator is controlled. It is changing. So this is, let us say, this is a SA node activity, that is sinoatrial node inside the heart, which is called as pacemaker of the heart. Now this pacemaker is an unstable kind of a body cell which goes into repolarization, depolarization. Again, it's on its own, it starts diffusing the sodium ions. Once the potential reaches the threshold level, it fires on its own. So it does not need an external trigger to fire. So SA node will fire, let us say, 72 times per minute. So the time between this and this will be around 750 milliseconds. So
Satish sir, sorry
Yeah.
for interrupting you, sir.
yeah.
Sir, please change into presentation mode, sir. This PPT. Presentation mode, sir. PPT mode. Full screen mode, sir.
Okay.
Can you make it as the full screen mode, sir? This PPT.
I have done that only. Oh, let me see, huh?
Instead of opening this PPT in window, can you download it, sir? Can you download it in
Open
full
full
screen
window.
PPT mode, sir?
Is it okay now?
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So if you see this, I was comparing it with the 555 timer here, unstable multivibrator. This RA controls on time, RB controls off time. And when we are changing the heart rate, please remember the on time of the SA node remains same. The off time changes by controlling the influx of sodium ions. Okay, this is done by the brain, by the vagal nerve. Okay, so as soon as the potential reaches threshold, it goes back into the repolarization action and then comes back again. So this is an unstable multivibrator. SA node is an unstable multivibrator. So like we have this analog signal and digital signal, please remember these are all digital signals. It is either low or high, low or high. Now this is what sensory nerve and a motor nerve. Like we have a lot of sensors and applicators. Applicators are nothing but like electronically, applicators are the sensors are temperature sensors, humidity sensors, and the applicator is, let us say, fan. When the temperature goes above certain limit, the signal will go to a controller. Controller will control the fan, and fan will start moving faster. Okay. Similarly, we have hand here, and the controller is our brain. So this is our CPU, and this is our sensor and applicator both. Okay, the sensor is a touch sensor and applicator are the muscles here. So the touch sensor will send the message through sensory nerve to the brain, and brain will through motor nerve control this muscle. So if you want to hold somebody, that the skin will talk about sensing the object, and the motor nerve will control the muscular activity, and it will hold that particular thing. So it is very similar to the electronic sensors and applicators what we have on our body. And this is a neuron. Neuron job is to take the information from the brain and give it to the motor nerve, through the motor nerve to the muscles, or take the information from the sensors and give it to the brain. I will tell you another electrical part, equivalent part in our body. This is an accelerometer module which will give you X, Y and Z output based on the position of this particular PCB in space. So if you holding it horizontal or holding it vertical or holding it at an angle, this X output, Y output and Z output, you will get analog voltage, and based on these three X, Y and Z, you will know the position of this particular PCB in space. We have a similar thing in our body, which is in the inner ear. There are semicircular canals in the vestibular system. There are these three canals. 1 minute. Huh? Okay. There are these three canals which will represent X-axis, Y-axis and Z-axis, and depending upon the position of our head, the signal will go through a vestibular nerve to the brain, and brain will know what is our position in the space. So this particular module in your mobile smartphone will tell you the position of the mobile to the CPU in the smartphone, and this is the inner ear vestibular system will tell you the position of your head to the CPU of your body, that is your brain. So we have absolutely a similar sensors and applicator situation, whether in our electronic world or whether it is in our biological world. And the signal to and fro are purely digital. These vestibular signals are frequency modulated signals of zeros and ones. The on time and off time is different for depending upon the position. Okay, so finally we come to ECG, where we wanted to come. ECG is also an electrical signal, electrocardiograph. Electro because it is electrical in nature, cardio because it has got something to do with heart, and cardiogram or graph because it is the recording over time. The x-axis is time, y-axis is your amplitude. So this is the heart which is lying here in the chest cavity. And please remember, this heart is a three-dimensional heart, though we have drawn it in the two-dimensional here. So the signal which is flowing through this heart is a vector quantity, not a scalar quantity, because it has got amplitude and direction. So if you want to study a vector quantity, you have to study it in minimum 2 axes, ideally all 3 axes. So when we are looking at the ECG, we don't, this is called as lead 1 between right arm and left arm. Then we have lead 2 between right arm and left foot, and lead 3 between left arm and left foot. So you have to look at this heart in multiple directions to understand the propagation of electrical signal from SN node to the ventricles. And when the signal propagates from SN node of the heart to the ventricle, this is what you get: P, QRS, and T. Okay, so these are the signals that we pick up from the brain. EEG we call it, electroencephalogram. We are basically looking out for 4 different components: beta, alpha, delta, and theta. Delta, theta, alpha, beta, it is called as. Okay, the first only the alpha, beta were known. Then people realize about delta and theta. So that is why it is not alpha, beta, delta, theta, but it is called as delta, theta, alpha, and beta. So these also you can pick up from the body and take it into the MATLAB and do a lot of projects on this. Okay, EMG, the electrodes are connected here, and all the muscle fibers that are firing below the skin will generate this composite waveforms, which we call as electromyogram. Okay. Full screen right now. Okay, this is electrooculogram. The movement of the eyeball can be recorded with these 2 electrodes, the vertical movement, and with blue electrodes you record the horizontal movement. Now this is evoked potential. Evoked potential is a potential evoked because of the sensory nerve. Like you listen to something, the potential will be evoked and it will go to the brain. So this is a typical evoked potential which is developed because of the trigger from the ear. Okay, and this is the signal that you get from the evoked potential, and a lot of people, a lot of students have done project on this this particular waveform. Is called as Bera brainstem audio evoked potential waveforms. So basically we pick up these potentials from the brainstem, that is near the neck. We put the electrodes and we pick up the signals and we can get this signals. Okay, now we go to see the controlling of these signals from the brain, and heart is the thing that we can see very easily. The heart is a free running astable multivibrator, but it is also a controllable astable multivibrator. It is controlled by a sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves from the brain, which makes the heart rate vary, and we are more interested in knowing the variability of the signal. So if you see the nerve system from the brain, we have parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. Both these nerve systems are either increasing the activity of the organ or restricting the activity of the organ, including the heart. So the parasympathetic nervous system will slow down the heart. The sympathetic nervous system will accelerate the heart by changing that infusion of the sodium ions, which I had shown you here. Sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system is changing the heart rate by adjusting the influx of sodium ions. So this is done by this. We'll see next. The same diagram. So this is our heart of interest right now. This is from parasympathetic and this is from sympathetic nervous system. How it changes the heart, we'll see. So parasympathetic nervous system will reduce the heart rate. Sympathetic nervous system will increase the heart rate by controlling the flow of sodium ions here. So this is the normal wave. The sympathetic nervous system will make it happen faster. So if you see the slope of this, basically we are changing the slope of this. So if you make the slope rise faster, then the time will be shorter. So because the slope is more here, it will advance the action, sympathetic nervous system, increasing the heart rate. Whereas the vagal nerve, that is the parasympathetic nerve, will reduce the slope, so the action is delayed. When the action is delayed, the rate falls down. When the action is made to happen faster, the heart rate goes up. So if you take the ECG, please remember though we are monitoring ECG here, we are trying to understand the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. So we are doing more of a nervous system study than the heart study here. So the time between these two ECG complexes is 828 milliseconds, which corresponds to 72 heart rate. Here 71 heart rate, 79 heart rate, and 80 heart rate. That means our heart rate is constantly, continuously changing because of the combined action. So heart rate at any given point of time is a combined action of sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Please remember, our heart rate is never constant. If it is constant, it is dangerous because it means that your nervous system has degraded. The heart rate constantly changes. We connect the patient to the ECG amplifier, then we pick up ECG, then we detect ECG, and this is the pulse that we generate with every ECG that we have detected. So as the ECG changes, the time between every ECG complex changes, you will see the time between the detected pulse will also change. That is T1, T2, T3, and T4. So this changing time will tell you the variability of the heart rate, will tell you the health of the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Why should this nervous system get degraded? What is the reason? Diabetes is one of the reasons. When the patient is suffering from diabetes, his nerve starts getting degraded. It happens to your hand and leg nerves very fast. So there is something called as diabetic foot, which is very dangerous. If the diabetes patient gets injury on his leg, it can lead to even surgically removing that part of the leg. So similarly, the heart control also gets affected because of the diabetes. That can be found out from the variation of this time period. So these are the ECGs. This is the compressed waveform. So the heart rate keeps on changing, and you see the second graph here is actually a heart rate. Okay, this is actually a heart rate which is changing. 1 hertz corresponds to 60. Okay, 1 hertz here. So 1.1 hertz will be around 66. So this is 60 here, 66 here, and 70 here. So heart rate is changing from less than 60 to around 75. This is an ideal waveform. These changes is basically because of the respiration. These changes, the major changes in the heart rate is because of the respiration. If you calculate the variability of this, how do you calculate the variability of this? You have to do the frequency analysis of this heart rate signal, not the ECG signal. We have derived this heart rate signal from the ECG complex that we have picked up. And when you do FFT, you get this kind of a graph. Okay, this is basically because of it's divided into 3: mid frequency and high frequency. And if you see, it is less than 0.5 hertz. So doing FFT, you will not find a frequency analyzer doing a frequency analysis below 100 hertz. But you can do this FFT in MATLAB. You take this signal, digitize this signal, give this signal to MATLAB and do this FFT and get this curve. It's a very interesting project. So in diabetes, if you see, this is the normal heart rate variability. And if the patient is suffering from a chronic diabetes, then this is the variability that you get. If the heart rate is not changing, if the heart rate is a straight line, it is very, very dangerous. So this is where we are. We have talked about the mechanical signals and the electrical signals. We will, in a short time, we will see the digitization process of these signals. And then we will show you the hands-on experience of how we are getting the ECG with what PCB, and then how we are digitizing it and feeding it to USB. Let me introduce you to my colleague.